long ago, there was a man named Matches who loved many things. Family, food, friends, but arguably most of all, he loved Dragon Ball. No, like seriously, he loved Dragon Ball. No, like he loved it. Figures, clothes, games, he even has freaking socks with Goku's face on them. Ahem. This is the story, the legend of that man.
Well, actually, no. It's more of a review of the first Budokai game with a little bit of my history of Dragon Ball Z tied to it, but I guess that didn't sound as appealing. Cue music! Dragon Ball Z Budokai, or simply known as Dragon Ball Z in Japan, is a game that's beloved by many, but for some reason it's just not really all that talked about in deep gaming discussions or analysis. Usually the discussions all end up sounding something like,
"Hey, remember Budokai? Yeah, that was a good game." Yeah, but why? Why was it a good game? Was it really a good game, or are we just blinded by nostalgia? Well, let me rewind back to a time when I was introduced not only to Budokai, but DBZ as a whole. Rewind back to October 2002. I was a young and fairly round boy who had not a care in the world. Back then, all I really cared about was Batman and Pokemon. As the years went on, I would see commercials of Dragon Ball, but always dismissed them for some reason, thinking they looked honestly pretty lame. During that summer, I happened to be visiting my family in Brazil, which I wasn't all too excited for because I was addicted to gaming and there was nothing to game on. I walked into my cousin's room and my jaw dropped when I saw this. What is this? I asked. I had to know more about this show. I had to tell everyone after it happened. My time back in the US moving forward was changed forever thanks to that moment. I became a Dragon Ball fan.
Unfortunately for me though, being a gamer, the most that we had to play for Dragon Ball Z games was...
Yeah, the DBZ games at the time were... how do I put this? A big ol' steamy pile of doggy dookie. They weren't fun, they weren't intuitive, and most of all, they didn't really feel like I was playing a Dragon Ball game. I hardly knew what the hell was going on in GT Final Bout. I mean, listen to Goku.
You can't beat me. I can tell without fighting you.
That ain't Shawnee Schemmel.
So yeah, all I really had were toys and reruns of Dragon Ball Z on Toonami until the finale happened 6 months later. That's right, 6 months. So absolutely nothing at that point could cheer me up. Life is dark. Tragic, really. If there's no Dragon Ball Z, then there's no reason to live on.
Dragon Ball Z Budokai released in November 2002 for North America, February 2003 for Japan,
Ha! Take that, Japan! America is #1.
and eventually on the GameCube a year after the American release with updated graphics. It was also the game your mom had an awfully hard time trying to call GameStop for.
Thank you for calling GameStop, where you can buy and sell used games. This is Chantel. How can I help you?
Yes, hello? Do you have Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 for the game station?
At possibly the height of its popularity, Toei Animation and Atari, who published most DBZ games at the time, said, "You know what? I think those burger-loving Americans also love our spiky-haired screamy boys. Let's give them a real game." Before Budokai, we didn't have anything representing the dub that was so cherished at the time, but this game was aiming to fulfill all of that. You also knew this was a game directed for audiences in the West because it actually released here 2 months before it did in Japan. And don't forget, all we got in America was...
But enough of the history lesson. Let's dive in and see if this is the product that we actually envisioned.
Oh boy, this is definitely aimed for American audiences. While Budokai's release in Japan had the beloved theme song of Cha-La Head Cha-La, we got what most Americans were used to. Rock the motherfucking dragon. Personally, I'm a bigger fan of the native Japanese anime score and voice acting, but back then, this was all I knew. And I loved it. Even visually, this was a spectacle to see. It's essentially the TV's anime opening running on PS2 in-engine. It's definitely not perfect. Yeah, looking at YouTube. But it was so great as a kid, and I would argue that it even holds up today. If I can just gush for a quick second, can we talk about how cool the title screen is? The art is very nice, but it changes to reflect the arc that you're about to play in the story mode. Very nice touch. By the way, the biggest nostalgia factor of this game is probably the story mode itself, which longtime fans will recognize as it covers the Saiyan, Namek, and Android sagas, respectively. Everything is shown off in brilliant CGI cutscenes that capture big moments like Goku getting killed by the special beam cannon, Goku and Vegeta's first battle in the mountains, Goku's first Super Saiyan transformation, and of course, Gohan going SS2 and defeating Cell. It even included awesome what-if scenarios such as Vegeta going Super Saiyan during the Saiyan saga, Frieza succeeding on Namek, and Cell... and Cell absorbing good. Okay, no. And Cell absorbing Krillin instead of Android 18. Now, the story mode is a wonderful love letter to Dragon Ball Z fans, especially if you love the first few sections of the show. However, there are some odd choices in this mode. For instance, we randomly have this mini-game to charge up the special beam cannon, but then it's never seen again. I want more tantrum stomping, damn it. Yeah! Also, the fights in the Saiyan arc are a cakewalk, but as soon as we start fighting Frieza, the difficulty spikes way up! Wait, what did he say? Come again? Oh yeah, that's what I thought you said. I mean, look, I could not, for the life of me, defeat Perfect Cell with Gohan's tiny, stubby limbs, so I had to swallow my pride and put the difficulty down just to release some unrepented rage on his ass.
By the way, sorry to break the illusion here for a bit, but the only way for me to actually capture footage for all of you is by emulating this on PC, and the lighting and shading got kind of messed up in some areas. But other than that, the game still looks really great.
The entire game runs at a pretty smooth 60 frames per second and is very receptive to your controls. Other than how it runs, most of the character models are pretty similar to the source material. I say most because Goku's face in particular looks like he had a lot of care put into it, but things like Gohan looking like he has a monkey face or Vegeta's head being so slim definitely has not aged well. I'm also pretty bugged that they didn't bother to animate the characters' lips whenever they speak in combat or at the beginning or ends of a match.
I'm up! I may die.
Speaking of characters, this game offers a roster of 23 characters who took part in some of the more notable and important fights from the beginning of Z till the end of the Cell saga.
Aw, dude, I love Cell trademark!
It's a pretty solid lineup, but I always felt the Ginyu picks and lack of notable transformations to be a little weird. Unfortunately, while the roster may seem decently sized with a lot of unique and different characters, they all essentially play the same at their core with a couple of differences, such as Frieza teleporting for his sidestep or Mr. Satan not being able to shoot ki blasts. One thing that really bothered me even to this day were the terrible translations of these characters' moves. Final Crash? Demon Rama? King Kai Fist? What the fuck? The Kaioken is one of the most popular techniques Goku uses, and you couldn't even remember the name? Jesus, that's like forgetting my oldest child's birthday and then at the last minute buying him a cake with the wrong name on it. While I can nitpick and critique a game that's almost 2 decades old for its visuals, I cannot say one negative remark about this game's soundtrack. It is magnificent. It's been playing this entire video, and if you haven't given the OST a listen, you have to. I am not asking you to, I am telling you to. Challengers is probably the best of the bunch. I mean, just take a listen. Each song from this game has a dedicated stage that it plays on. There are 9 stages total in the game with a pretty sweet selection from the more notable locations of Dragon Ball. Would have been cool to see some Kame House, West City, or the sky as a cool setting though, but I guess this selection does the job. The game doesn't offer too much in the realm of content outside of story mode and just fighting. You of course have the duel mode, where you can use the roster you've unlocked to fight against a CPU or your friends locally 1v1. The World Tournament mode is featured, which can be pretty challenging. The mode is an homage to the Tenkaichi Budokai segments of Dragon Ball, where you are put up against the best of the best to fight for the title of Strongest Under the Heavens. I loved the added touch of having the character portraits placed on the bracket as the tournament announcer speaks to the crowd.
So, the first match starts!
They even have some art that I think was made exclusively for this mode prior to starting a match. There are 3 levels of difficulty, one adding an additional, more difficult battle than the last, and it's so easy to get hit out of the ring. You could be doing so well, and then all of a sudden...
Fuck! Dude, it's not the hardest thing in the world, but man, it can blow the wind out of your sails to be doing so well, get to the final round, and then just have someone knock you out of the ring so easily. My best recommendation, use Mr. Satan or Great Saiyaman, and you'll be able to knock people out with their special attacks pretty easily.
Well fought!
Eat shit.
Other than a practice mode to practice your combos, a skill shop to buy and edit capsules, more on that later, and the options menu, there really isn't much left.
It looks like this game is pretty bare bones, actually. I wish I had something, anything else to add to the experience.
That's right, after you've beaten Adept in the tournament mode and unlocked every character other than Saiyaman, you'll be treated to Mr. Satan added to your roster and his own mode called the Legend of Hercule. This mode plays out a scenario where Mr. Satan fights and defeats the Z Fighters and Cell himself. This mode is blatant fan service and I love it. You can even hear Mr. Satan talk smack to the fighter he's facing, only to then hear his inner thoughts being completely insecure and frightened.
Wimps! Spineless jellyfish! You're a pushover too, then? My remaining power will be plenty for you. Come on, then! Then again, I'm a bit pooped. Maybe I shouldn't have said both at once.
So, we've talked a lot about the content that this game offers, but let's get to the real meat of this Dragon Ball dish, the gameplay. Battles are pretty fast-paced thanks to Budokai's Soul Calibur / Tekken-esque inspired combat. Everything takes place on a 2.5D arena that you get free will to shift your footing by pressing guard and up or down on the D-pad. You have a few different options during your fight to execute. A punch, kick, guard, and key button, which each do exactly that when pressed, but can be pointed in a certain direction or done in combination with other inputs for different moves. For example, pressing kick backwards would have Goku here perform a different move than just pressing kick. Holding guard on its own does a standard block, but holding it and double tapping backwards charges your ki. You can also chain attacks like 4 punches and an energy input to perform special moves such as the Kamehameha, through the game's capsule system. If your character is in the right transformation, has the right amount of ki, and you successfully pull off a slightly more difficult button combo, then you can have the opportunity to land an ultimate attack that does devastating damage. That is, if you have the right capsules equipped to do so. The capsule system of the game is where you can make things incredibly unique and customized for each character. Capsules represent a move or item that you can place on a character, such as a Super Saiyan transformation to power up, a grab move to break through guards, Gallic Gun to really put the pain on someone at the end of a combo, or even a Sensu Bean to revive yourself from near death. Or you can be a douchebag and put the heart virus and vaccine on your character to watch your opponent's health dwindle while you're standing smug and just fine. This concept is something I loved as a kid, because if my friend and I both played Vegeta, we could both have completely different layouts for our character to suit our own type of play. Now, the combat can be pretty clunky at times, and I don't mean the Mario Party 2 levels of controller spinning I have to do to win these fist clashes. Oh my freaking gosh, my hand is burning! Like here, these are a few moments of me chaining attacks and landing my super moves, but it failing? I don't know. And I also found that some moves, such as Goku's Kamehameha, just don't have the reward I should receive when landing. It hardly causes my opponents to flinch, and I end up getting punished hard for landing my own attack. Super moves in this game aren't that flashy, and they don't really have the impact you'd see in the anime, like a final flash destroying the battlefield and launching Cell into oblivion. Also, slight nitpick, why is Goku's Kamehameha yellow but Cell's blue? It's just supposed to be blue unless like Majin Buu uses it or something. Never mind. I have to say, this game really does make you feel like you're playing an episode of Dragon Ball. Whether you're playing through the story mode and getting the motivation to defeat Frieza after Krillin's death, fighting your way through the ranks of the Tenkaichi Budokai for the prize money, or pulling off Mr. Satan's secret techniques to conquer the Cell games. I know with today's games like Fighters, Xenoverse, and maybe even Kakarot, you could argue that there's no need to go back to Budokai, but I spent countless hours in this game, and I still have fun playing it today, whether I find it clunky or not. This game at the time was something special, and I'll never forget that.
So all in all, my final thoughts on Dragon Ball Z Budokai is that at the time, it was a pretty visually impressive game, had a solid lineup of characters even though a lot of them played very similar, and was a ton of fun, whether you were playing your friends or if you were playing on your own. This game would definitely last you a year. Why a year? Well, because next time we're going to be tackling the sequel that came out just a year later, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 on the PS2. So, subscribe, like this video if you enjoyed it, share it with your friends if you all remember Dragon Ball Z Budokai fondly, or if you never played it and want to take a look and get inspired to play it. I will see you guys next time. Later!
Hey there guys, Matches here. It looks like we're diving into the next entry of the Budokai series. New cel-shaded graphics, a larger roster, and a botched story mode transformed into a board game? Sounds wild. Let's grab some sensu and dive in. Next time on the MatchesPeaches show, Budokai 2, a grand improvement or disappointing successor? Take care, goodbye!